stage Mr. Arjan Pit from UNStudio to take the stage. Let's go ahead and give a big round of applause as we get ready for a fantastic start to the day.
Hello, good morning everyone. Thank you FOAID to invite me here to discuss a little bit of our work. And thank you all for joining as well. It's an honor to be here and to speak a little bit about our work, who we are, what we do, and why we do it as well, and how can we move forward on that. It's always a pleasure to talk to people about our work, seen or unseen. So let's move ahead. So for those who don't know UNStudio, it was founded in Amsterdam in 1988. By Ben van Berkel and Caroline Bos. And since then we've been focusing on design of whole cities, but also products, architecture obviously, and trying to really push the boundary of architecture in all ways and forms. Since then we've grown to 8 studios, and from Amsterdam to Riyadh very currently. And we have a very small outpost in Madrid as well, focusing on the same questions about the city, about architecture, how people live, how we can make the world a better place, basically, instead of just thinking about architecture as a profession. So, like I said, we go from the extra small, so product design, to building entire new cities. And everything what's in between. A colleague of mine always says, like, we design everything from spoons to cities and everything in between. And we do that, of course, out of the 36 years of experience we have. Whilst we did that, we won a lot of awards doing that. Like I said, we have 8 offices now with around 400 people and still growing. We're still very ambitious and very driven by the work we do, and also that the collaboration we do. Because as you know, UNStudio, UNS stands for United Network Studio, what means that we don't think we can do everything on our own. We try to collaborate as much as possible with people who have a different knowledge than we are, and we connect it to our teams. So interdisciplinary teams, intercultural teams, that's where we think our strength lies. So we did a lot of projects all across the world, 120 completed projects and 90 still in the design process or in construction process. If you just looked very quickly, we only did 4 in India. We hope, of course, that we can do more and collaborate also on the growing cities here, and also the questions which are arising from that. I think it's good to stand still a little bit what we think as values, right? We don't do design for design purpose only. We really think that we carry in our projects, and we have to carry in our projects, our values. So first of all, we think that design is about people. And that means that for the people in different cultures, in different climates, in different environments, that relates really also to the planet itself. So from very desert kind of areas to making a place which is livable for people. And mind you, these 2 images are basically the same location. The right-hand side is, of course, not realized yet, but this is the ambition which we have. We believe that design is knowledge-driven, so that we don't design only the aesthetics, but we really think about what the impact is on the world. So on the left-hand side, that's a hard hyperloop, so we think about mobility of the future. And also on the right-hand side, how do we entertain people, and how can we keep people, the right-hand side is actually in the UAE, how can we keep people longer outside, so extend the winter in the desert areas. We do that on all scales, from small interventions to the cities within cities. On the left-hand side is the Amsterdam project. It's a very high-end shopping street in Amsterdam with all these old houses which we all know from Amsterdam. And we were asked to do a small intervention, and we kept it very, very minimal to the detail. So we were very focused during this project on the detailing of this facade. And on the other hand, we do also this master planning and huge developments, like the one in Frankfurt, which is under construction. It's almost completed. And that is on a site which used to be the National Bank of Germany. And we wanted to give that back to the city, because it has been closed off for so many years. And now we wanted to give it back to the city. So now it becomes a kind of center of Frankfurt, where people can just enjoy the city. And we do that on, oops, that goes a bit too fast. Well, back. So we do that on cultural icons, and we question basically infrastructure of the future, where cable cars could be a solution of how we can actually travel on a consistent basis through the city. So to avoid traffic. And what's an interesting fact, cable cars, of course, they are constant kind of conveyor belt almost, so that people don't really have to wait, so it continues. So you can get in, you can get off, and you just go over all the traffic. And of course, we focus very much on sustainability and smart neighborhoods, so we really focus on technology. What interesting fact, the left-hand side image, that's actually from my university where I studied in Delft. And we designed an inter-faculty building where students can collaborate. So a student from an engineering student together with an architecture student or an aerospace student. So they really can come together and share ideas. So the architecture becomes way more than just a building. So it becomes a place where people meet, collaborate, and learn from each other. And this building specifically is also very sustainable. It produces more energy itself than it needs. So it could give that back as well. So we create social sustainability as well as environmental sustainability. And we do that with always being mindful of local conditions. So that means that a building which we design for London is very different than a building which we design in Jeddah in this case. So we make use of the local flora and fauna, and we try to, again, make the environment more pleasant. So you can get under the building into the shade and really extend this winter, which is super important if you live in the Middle East and have experienced the UAE in summer. You really welcome these kind of initiatives. And obviously, we create meaningful places. And I think that's a very important message for us, that we don't say we create meaningful architecture, but we create meaningful places, because that's where we live. We don't live in architecture, we live in places. We entertain in places, we work in places. Now, getting to the subject. Like I ended, I think we talk about space and how can we make that inclusive, so where everyone's needs, desires are met, and how we as architects and urban planners and designers can make that happen. So we're trying to look for this balancing of the needs of people, neighborhoods, and the environment. And we approach the design as a community making, and also this future thinking. So we cannot predict the future, but we can think the way we foresee the future, be flexible with it. So we believe this key to the experience-driven and inclusive environments is creating these seamless journeys. And that means that it goes between landscape, architecture, environments, everything all together. And that's where we think that the humans can live the best way, work the best way, and entertain the best way. Now, how do we do that? So we think beyond architecture. If we get a brief, we really start to ask, is this the best brief? Is this the value the client wants to have in the project? What can we add more? And that doesn't mean that we need to have more budget for it. It means that we can be smarter with it. We can make a business plan together. We can grow with our clients on their mission and our mission. And how can we incorporate all these elements like culture, interaction, technology, and come up with a strategy of how we can move forward. And we do that on different aspects. So the business side of things is super important, of course. In every conversation you have with clients, this comes always up. And how can we anticipate that with our architecture and interior design and urban planning. And of course, on the side, we do some branding and products and services where we can implement very user-specific and end-user-specific products in our projects as well. So by exploring how people live, work, move, and interact with the communities, nature, and the space, we explore how to create these environments and to enhance this human experience. And we want to, of course, always, as the end, is the bringing people together in that way of living, their way of working, and their way of entertaining. So I want to show a couple of projects which show not all the elements in every project, but at certain levels in different projects. I want to start with the project which we recently did in Dubai, which was a very commercially driven development, very high efficiency tower with a very ambitious brief, which was inspired by the coral reef. So we were inspired by the aesthetics of it, but also the brief in terms of views. So this is in the Dubai Maritime City, where on the one side it's very industrial, a lot of big ships, containers, warehouses. And on the other hand, it's beautiful views back to the city and on the Arabian Gulf. So we looked at this from different perspectives. So the site itself, so micro, and then also on how it's exposed to the sun during the day, and how can we combine those. So we looked at the urban envelope we got, which is just a standard floor plate, basically podium with a tower on top, very kind of normal and standard approach to residential. So we focused immediately on the views, because that was the main driver of the developer. So we focused mainly on the views, and we thought, why don't we rotate this building and push the core even further back, so that we can really focus on one side which basically sells the project. And that worked out to be a perfect kind of set out, because we were able to then also put the core on the southern side of the facade, which has the largest heat load. And we wanted to do a little bit more with that, where we could use that core to heat water. We could use the core to actually cool water as well. However, the client didn't see the purpose in that, unfortunately. But these kind of things we always try to introduce, at least. And that ended up into a tower which is standing tall. And we tried to, of course, incorporate the podium as well into this whole design. So as you can see, it's really inspired on the coral. And also you can see in the floor plans that all the living rooms have these beautiful views, and the bedrooms basically are turning their back to the more industrial area. Like I said, it was inspired by coral, so it's a kind of natural inspiration. And how did we create this kind of vividness of the facade? It's just a very simple approach of the A-B kind of approach. So it's iteration of A and then the B floor. So you get these double heights balconies, actually. So you have always air above you and not these continuous balconies on every floor. Continuing, I think this is one of our projects which is really highly anticipated. It's going on site, hopefully. It's in Melbourne. And this is truly an extension of the urban environment and the public realm. So this is South Bank by Beulah in Melbourne. And we were invited for a competition a couple of years ago to design one tower in the Melbourne. And it was a big competition with all the big names. And we basically challenged the brief. We said, but if we do two towers, you know, you open it a little bit up and they can talk to each other, they can become part of the urban fabric, because you see all these towers with a smaller footprint, and you don't want to create a wall in the city center. So that's actually the first thing we did, and analyze where it's positioned in the city. So we focused again on views, sunlight, and how do we position it in the city? And how do we connect it with the city? So in Melbourne, you have this public realm, which is a green kind of route through the city, which is connected with different public spaces, communal spaces, bar, restaurants, etc. How can we incorporate that building into that routing and become actually part of it? So it doesn't stop where you enter the building. So that inspired basically this twist as well, so this green spine. And it opened it up a little bit more, and we created a kind of urban podium in the middle. And I think this little short video really shows what we mean with that. It's kind of the extension of the green, well, literally here, the growing of the green in the city. So here you can see it's very close to this park, it's close to the river, and it's really trying to introduce the green spine into the city. Of course, biophilic design is super important, so this whole twist is the green spine, where we try to incorporate a lot of planting, but also the balconies themselves. They're actually loggias, which provide the shading for every single apartment or office or hotel room that's behind. So this is kind of the end result. And what is interesting to see is that actually Centre Pompidou, the museum in Paris, they picked this up. How it's really incorporated in the city. So that white box there, that's most likely going to be a museum into that. So that's the almost the highest level you can reach in communal and public space, where we actually show stuff to the city. Just a few more images to show how this kind of dynamic facade also works. It's not like a boring kind of high-rise. It really plays with the different facades on it, and how it also plays with the different elements of how we can introduce environmentally friendly aspects to it. Like I said about the urban podium, so you create this kind of podium where people can just interact and go, and it becomes really like a plaza, as any plaza within the city, only one with a really fantastic view. And we create exquisite experiences. There's going to be a hotel in this building alongside residential offices, so it's going to be a city within a city. This video is a little bit longer, but it shows really the positioning in the city and how it really works with this specific city. So as you can see at the top floor, at the roof, we're trying to create this forest. Of course, that comes with a lot of technical challenges. What we've learned is that if you want to make a biophilic facade, you start with the very small plants, actually, because they can adapt. If you try to grow them on the ground floor, just in a nursery, and then plant them at 100 meters or 200 meters high, it doesn't really work. It takes a lot more care. So if you already plant them at this height, they get used to it. I don't know how many times I've seen this video, but it's still, you know, it's amazing if this gets built in a couple of years, because it will be such an addition and such a new way of thinking about high-rise, and how can we give this back to the city? How can we really make a city livable again, even though it's a very dense place to live? And I think we all recognize that in cities like Mumbai as well. We also extend that into the workplace. And the question basically came from booking.com, all well known for if you want to book a hotel, just at your fingertips, you can just book a hotel within minutes and travel there. Their office space, we were asked to design their office space, and they did have a very interesting brief. Basically, they didn't want an office space. So how do you deal with that? So we looked into the brief and talked a lot with booking.com and the owner. So what are the most important things? Well, of course, it was also during COVID, when this was all happening, when it was under construction. So it was really best timing. So we looked in what do people need? What do people want if they go to work? Of course, really good lunches, that's obvious, but they also want to, relax. They want to go to the gym, they want to work on their health and well-being, and they want to be in a social space. So these kind of elements were the driver of this community, collaboration, and knowledge. And that all together, and of course the health aspect as well, that's the booking.com campus. And how can we bring that together in a building which actually does that? So how can you work on a building where you almost seamlessly go from the city into the building and you walk to your workplace? And what was interesting, I visited obviously, that we walked in and I was like, wow, this is such a big building, and especially on the scale of Amsterdam. And at a certain point we were on the roof and I said, how did we get here? We didn't take a lift. It was just like climbing a small hill, let's say. You walk through the city, you have all these experiences. You walk through the restaurant, you grab a bite. And there was all people meeting, there were people working, there were some people just playing a game even in the office. So how can we change this way of working? That, work is a social place as well. We spend so much time in our office. How can we make that also a pleasant time? Here, this is a section where it actually really shows that's an extension of the city with a lot of green, a lot of, walking paths, big balconies, so that people can really get out of their office space. And I think it's best shown with a video like this. This was a little excursion into the office. This is Amsterdam on a good day. It's quite often raining. So this is basically your entrance into the building. It doesn't feel like an office, it feels like an open lobby space. There's a lot of green introduced, very warm tones, wood, timber. So can you imagine working here on a daily basis? Good restaurants. And it's these moments, especially in these technology-driven companies, where the biggest ideas happen and people interact, not when they're behind their laptop writing emails or writing reports. It's also very special. We looked really into the air quality of this building. So there's very special kind of ways of treating the air from either the floor or the ceiling, or which gives you this really purified air almost. So the environment is not only doesn't look good, it is also good for you. This is this rooftop what I talked about. And here you can see really, really good the scale of this building. And especially in a city like Amsterdam, where everything is like very, very small scale, it's quite, and it blends in, it's quite interesting. Yet another project. I think this is really want to address the fact that we don't only focus on design. We developed an urban branding manual. We did it for 2 projects so far. We did it once in Qatar for the metro network, where we really made a branding manual of how to build a metro station and on different scales. And we did that because there were 36 stations, I believe, and these were all going to be built by different contractors. So how can you maintain the quality? Well, make a manual. And it's not guidelines, it's literally manual which it has to be followed. It specifies which suppliers can supply the quality which is needed. It defines signage and wayfinding, etc. We did that also for a project in Bangalore. It's one of the few projects we did in India, but it's under construction, so that's very encouraging. And we based that on 3 pillars. One is garden. Well, related to the city itself, like the garden city, lots of green, lots of trees. Second is health. So we always want to promote in our projects health. And that means mental health, physical health. So it means more than just, being fit. And the third pillar is culture. So how can we focus on these crucial benefits that culture can give us? And the social aspect of the culture. So I'll go a bit deeper into that. This is a very brief part of the presentation, but this is what we designed. It doesn't mean that it's going to be built like this, but we gave this manual of how the building's massing should look like, what ingredients should be in there, and what is the facade kind of rules you have to apply as an architect. So that every architect who takes on one of those buildings, that they know more or less how this holistically can be approached. The health aspect, or how do we connect all these buildings together, is not as separate elements, but we try to create a field almost, where you interact as a human being with those buildings, with your environment, and really have a pleasant environment. And this is one of the things where we think we want to avoid, let's say, people going out of the office, clocking out at 6 o'clock, and go into traffic. Why not make the environment so good that you can invite your family in there, have the dinner there, entertain there, stay there for a little bit, and then later on, drive back home. And this is to extend again the day of when you use this office park, what it basically is, and how can you connect with your family on a very high level quality way. So we introduce in this office park a lot of elements like cinema, entertainment, hotels, hospitality, F&B. So to really make this a city within the city where people can really enjoy working and living in that sense as well. Sustainability, super important. It's what I addressed earlier in the presentation. This is ECHO in Delft. And that goes beyond just sustainability as a buzzword. It really goes into every single detail of how can we make actually a sustainable building. So what I said, it produces more energy than it needs, but it's also a building which is very smart in its way, how it's built. First of all, daylight, of course. This is in the Netherlands, so very, very transparent. To have a lot of light, natural light coming in. We don't have much there. But also this central staircase. This is what you see when you come in. So you're actually almost invited not to take the lift, but take the staircase. So it's also good for your physical health. So it's this kind of sustainability on the different levels. Also, the building is demountable completely. So we can reuse the materials if ever they want to replace this building, build it somewhere else. It's fully demountable. And these are the construction technologies we looked into together with the contractor, with our specialized team in-house, and how can we actually reuse this building. The facade is also sustainable, so there's natural plants growing on these threads, basically, to give this kind of view on green, but also shading when needed. Some images of this stair, what I was talking about. So this is really the entrance. What's quite interesting here, and since I haven't been living for 15, 16 years in the Netherlands, there's like a basement underneath. It's not a car park, it's a bike park. There's like thousands of bikes you can park there. And it's quite interesting because this alone is something which, of course, Dutch do. Go everywhere on their bike. but it's also a serious mode of transportation. So you can park your bike just like you do with your car. And we see that more and more, and that's, again, you know, you get almost attracted to go by bike. Of course, the crown a little bit, which we're working on now. I'm based in Dubai, so I see this tower on a daily basis, and I've been working on this also personally. And it's almost completed now, and this is Wasl Tower, and this is really a tribute to the city of Dubai, to the dynamics of the city, but also focusing on the sustainability of it, and again, the health and innovation of use of materials. So this is a render which I think it's probably done 10 years ago. That's how long a really good project can take, another render. And we've tried to bring cultural sustainability, health, and innovation to the next level. And of course, this is always a force between your client and the ambition of the architect. So we aim high, and then we negotiate. What can we do? What is actually achievable? So when we designed it, we first saw the dynamics of the city. So it's really like this twist, and it's in this spaghetti of roads, Sheikh Zayed Road, and going to downtown, to City Walk. So it's this kind of dynamics into the tower, and really lifting the city in a vertical way into this. And it's also a very unique location, of course, in the city where it's really exposed. Secondly, we tried to use this building, which unfortunately didn't go all the way what this left-hand diagram shows, as a vessel almost to capture rain, to capture water, to take water from the air, and use the environment as to give back basically to the building. So you can flush the toilets, for example, with that water. Sorry. But also the car park building as a battery, almost as a battery pack, which provides enough energy to power the facade lighting. Unfortunately, these were value engineered out, but it's not that we cannot reintroduce them in a certain point in the future. And I think the most innovative aspect of this tower is the ceramic facade, where first we have the shading elements, so to reduce the heat load on the facade, and then with the ceramics, which is really good in dispersing heat, to not only give it a very beautiful aesthetic effect with this kind of pearlescent, almost oil-like and pearl-like finish, but it also helps really to reduce this heat load even further. And of course, it creates this addition to the dynamics when the sun reflects in different ways on the building. And this is, again, best represented in a video. This is a couple of months ago, maybe a year already, where it's now the facade is completed to the top. It just needs a really, really good cleaning. And here you can see that the reflection of this facade, because of that, this curvature, it really is like Ben van Berkel, the founder of UNStudio, said when he visited 2 weeks ago. This is a building with 1,000 facades. And he is absolutely right, because every moment of the day, every angle you look at it, it's always different, and it has different aspects. Sometimes it looks really dark, sometimes it looks pure gold. This is amazing about this facade. We introduced a very limited glazing, actually, because why would you build a fully glazed building in an environment where the temperatures can rise to 50 degrees, right? All the heat you get in, you need to cool down. So that's double kind of effect of heat load on the facade, and you have to cool it. So this is really treating, with the information we get from an analysis, the facade where we can use more glass. We do it. If we don't have to, we don't. So here you can see this effect actually, And of course, it's all a little bit on an angle to create a dynamic aspect as well. An interesting part of this building is that, you know, Sheikh Zayed Road development is a tower, and then on the back side is the car park. And the car park is usually only car park, with exceptions when the pool deck is on top of the car park. We took it actually to the next level. We connected the car park with the tower, and since it's a hotel, Mandarin Oriental Hotel is in there, it has a ballroom. And we placed the ballroom actually in the car park building, because it's much easier to build a column-free, big space in a smaller or low-rise building than into a tower, which has a lot of structure and, you know, less flexibility in it. And we believe that works. So it's really worth a visit if you're in Dubai. I think it will open sometime next year. And even the garden in between the car parking building and the tower, that's where we really start to see how the building can give back to the city as well. So almost concluding my presentation, and I think I just had a conversation as well about what's next, you know. We see that there's a lot of challenges we're seeing now, but also happen more and more in the future. And we believe that we have to work in a different way. We have to collaborate more. We have to approach our projects from a cultural aspect as well, and really look at an intelligent way of how we design our buildings. So how can we use less concrete? How can we use more information? How can we listen to people, how they want to live, how they want to work? And I think that's really important, this data, to create this innovative and more creative way of design, and how we can make our buildings and our cities and our places really work for the people and the environment. Thank you very much.